How do you listen from? Welcome back, it's Yorkshire Blazeman, and this is another episode of Historically Traditional. Let's get into how do, ladies and gentlemen. So today on a new episode of Historically Traditional, you may recognise this bayonet before. This is the Swedish Model 1896. Now, if you have seen my channel before, I did have a video on this bayonet before, but then I deleted it because it was quite frankly appalling. My information was not right, and it was not a very good produced video. So with all my bayonets now, I spent hours putting together proper fact files for them all, so when I do these videos it is more efficient, more influential, and has more facts for you, and it's way more better produced. So as I said, this bayonet today, this is the Swedish Model 1896 bayonet used in World War II. Now don't let the name 1896 misguide you. This bayonet was not produced in 1896 whatsoever. It was produced just in the 20th century. So let's go over some notes on the Swedish Model 1896. So this bayonet was used for this 6.5 Model 1896 Swedish Mauser, which is where it gets its name from, 1896. And it was also used on the Model 1938 short rifle and the AJ-42B Lungman self-loading rifle. So this bayonet was used for quite a few of Sweden's rifles and guns, and it is one of the most, I think, interesting and very influential bayonets to come out during the 20th century. So according to a gentleman called Per Holmbach, who must be some sort of Swedish man, I did not know who he was, approximately 665,000 of these bayonets were produced altogether. And now these all started from the beginning, around 1899, and later on as well. So these bayonets were produced by three companies at different times. So the main people who produced it first was Eskilstuna Järnmanufaktura. I'll put it down below, my Swedish is terrible. AB. Also Carl Gustafstad's Järnvaskefaktori, which translates to the rifle factory of Carl Gustaf's town, and EAB, which is a bit more easier to say, aka Eric Anton Berg from Eskilstuna. So two companies from Eskilstuna made these bayonets, and Mr. Carl Gustaf did as well. I will put underneath how they're spelled, so if anyone who's watching this is Swedish, please don't feel offended by my pronunciation. Spanish is maybe my strongest point, not Swedish. So, before I get into any more information, let us just look over the bayonet first, because the information that I will say now does reflect the bayonet, the issue numbers and the designs and everything. So this is one of the latest bayonets of the 1896. There was two versions. There was the early version, the late version. This is the late version, which was redesigned in 1905. The first version had a 4-digit serial number at the top here, whereas the 1905 one has a 3-digit issue number. Another difference between the later and the early model is there are 3 differences in total. As I said, this is serial number on the guard of the bayonet. The other one was the blade. Now if you look at this bayonet, it appears to be a dual-edged blade, so like a fighting knife, but it's not. This is a false edge here. The main edge is underneath here. On the earlier model, they were dual-edged, so it was like a proper fighting knife as well as a bayonet. However, in 1905 they redesigned it just to have the one main edge and just a false edge here. The last feature, which you may not know, is here. This is the lock of the bayonet. Now that seems quite weird, but this is the thing that operates the lock of the bayonet. If we compare it to, say, this, Russian AKM bayonet is a press stud by the Maltese here that releases the bayonet from the rifle. However, the Swedes had a very interesting mechanism, like some other bayonets, which is this little pull thing here. Now, the earlier version had a flat top here, so you could get your nails underneath and pull it out, but since it was quite small, it was very hard to grab at some times. So they changed it to this long conical shape, locking stud. So this is the main differences from the earlier model to the 1905 model. In my eyes, the 1905 model was better. However, it would have been nice to have the dual edge as well, because you have more cutting potential and easier to extract from someone's body. So the use of the unit markings on these bayonets ended in 1933. So anything with a issue number or markings on it was produced before 1933. So this one would have been used in World War II. Sorry, that's my phone going off from World War I. However, the ones produced in World War II didn't have the markings on them, which is quite strange, but you know, anyway. So, to identify which bayonet, which unit had this bayonet is quite interesting, because the Navy, the infantry, and the cavalry all had these bayonets, and the way you can tell which one had it is here. So, if there's an I on the guard, as you can see here, this says I D8 number 722. So this is Infantry Division 8, Rifle number 722. If this was the cavalry one, it would have had a K here, and if it was the Navy, it would have had an N, I think. I don't know what the word for Navy in Swedish is, but along those lines I would guess. So this bayonet was produced by the first company, Eskilstuna German Manufacturer AB, and their markings were E, J, and Anchor, and AB. I will do a close-up on that in a minute. But as we know, my camera does not like focusing, and it's quite small imprinted, so I will not really show that just right now. I will do like a close-up on it. The bayonet also is quite interesting, how unlike other bayonets, this is constructed out of two pieces of metal. You have your handle and you have your bayonet. The bayonet can, if you can see in here, you have these markings. The bayonet actually can be taken off because the handle of this bayonet is hollow, and there's a reason for that, which I will just go into later. So, two-part construction, your handle and your bayonet. So this is what all these Model 1896 were like. So the Eskilstuna German Manufacturer AB, as I said, which on the bayonet say EJ Anchor AB, began their production around 1899 and it finished in 1912. They made 280,000 of these bayonets, which the first 10,000 had a 4-digit serial number on it. Mine is not one of those ones. The early versions, as I said, had a flat locking stud on here and were double-edged. This one is not, single-edged. Around 1905, the design was changed to a conical stud and a single-edged blade. So this is mine produced after 1905. So when this was produced, I don't know, but it was from anywhere between 1905 to 1933. So this bayonet was used in World War II, and also in World War II. There have been accounts since it was still being made. At some point during this period of time, the 4-digit serial number was replaced by a 3-digit one. There we go. And on the scabbard as well, which is located here. And it went up to 999. Once they hit the 999 mark, they started numbering at 001 again. Now, the number, a 3-digit number on here, is not the bayonet number, it's the rifle number. So 722 on the handle would have gone to number 722 rifle in the 8th Infantry Division, whereas on the scabbard it says 5/13 number 666. This means it is rifle 666, 5th Company, 13th Infantry Regiment. So unfortunately these two do not match up, which is not something unusual. It happened just like the AKM transitional bayonet, so you had to mix and match when you could if you lost some of your equipment. Around 1913, Carl Gustafstad's Gervangsfaktori, which had the inscription of a crown and a C underneath it, which was stamped onto the blade and the scabbard, took over production. I do not know when Eric Anton Berg produced his bayonet. I could not find that information out from the website I was looking at. So if anyone knows, please do let me know. So, let's go with some specs of this bayonet, shall we? The blade length of this is 8.375 inches, which in centimetres is 21.27 centimetres. So you got a very quite a long blade, longer than most modern bayonets now, to be honest with you. The overall length of this bayonet is a modest 13.25 inches, which is 33.65 centimetres. So it's not that short, to be honest with you. It's quite a substantial bayonet in some regard for a knife bayonet. So about the cover, the muzzle ring, however, is quite small compared to other bayonets. This is a 0.615 inches or 1.5621 centimetres. This is because the rifle on the 6.5 1896 Swedish Mauser was quite short, because most rifles were in 8mm or 7.5. Not many were in the 6.5mm, because Britain had the 303 Brit caliber, and most Mausers were in 7.5 or 8mm. So it was quite a short caliber rifle, which is why there is quite a short hole in it. Now, this brings me about the handle, how it is hollow. Now the reason for this is because when you inserted the bayonet onto the rifle, like so, the cleaning rod went into the handle of the bayonet. So when in use, the cleaning rod was protected by the bayonet, which is quite a unique idea. The disadvantage of that is because you haven't got a full tang bayonet or something of not of a solid construction, there is more chances of this breaking if you're looking at it in a practicality wise, since you wouldn't use this for survival use in case you were encamped somewhere you would use an axe. However, this is mainly for a fighting knife. Some bayonets like the AKM Russian and the other Eastern Bloc ones were used as a survival knife as well as a fighting knife. So this is purely tasked was for stabbing, basically. Another interesting feature about this bayonet is the handle and the lock. In a way, it is quite clever how the guard and the locking tag here, it is really comfortable in a hand. So you can easily just use this in your hand instead of the bayonet as a very comfortable fighting knife. And this was an influence for the Russians when they designed this. This is the 6x2 AK-47 bayonet. This is a Bulgarian version. So as you can see, there are some slight similarities of how the handle and the bottom are formed. So this is why it's quite influential. However, the Model 1914 bayonet was the main influencer for the Russian 6x2. However, this is a Bulgarian copy. So yeah, so it was replaced, as I said, by the Model 1914 bayonet. The hollowed out handle is to cover the cleaning rod. Full stainless steel construction, 2 parts. One bayonet is separate and the handle is made from one solid piece. The scabbard itself is solid metal with your little bow at the end, your frog, a 1 pin keeping it all together, and your tag, which is a separate construction. As you can see, this bayonet has seen some rework. It's been grounded down. The frog came off. This has come off, and you can see it's been crudely welded back on. There's some gaps in here. you can get a locking bar for this bayonet, frog locking bar. So what happens is it attaches onto here, and a curve locks onto the frog stud, because you can just easily come off. Now there are 3 types of frogs for this. There is the leather frog, and there are 2 types of webbing frogs. I would like to get a frog for this, or even get a fully quite a nice Swedish Model 1896 in good condition rather than this piece of crap. But you can't get everything you wish for, and maybe one that is matching. Put it in the wrong way. You can fit both ways, but I put it in the wrong way, so it's not going to fall out easily. But I shouldn't really do that. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope it was influential and factual for you. That's what I hope to achieve with my other historically traditional reviews. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you're more extreme than that, subscribe to my channel, because you really help me grow. I'm on 162 subs. Let's get it to 200 by the end of the year. Thank you guys, and I shall see you next time. Goodbye.